So, you've hit that golden point in life where you're done with traffic, alarms, and Karen from HR. You're ready to trade the rat race for flip-flops, sunsets, and maybe a little golf if your back allows it. Welcome to Retirement Mode, Florida Edition. But here's the problem. Everyone keeps screaming about the Villages, Tampa, or Miami. Newsflash, Florida's huge, and most of the best towns? Totally under the radar. One has more bikes than cars. Another? A pirate past and zero chain restaurants. And one hidden gem has the lowest crime rate in the entire state, but no one talks about it. Think you know the best cities? Let's find out. We're counting down 10 secret Florida towns perfect for retirement in 2025. These places aren't just peaceful and picturesque. They're backed by real data. Home prices, safety stats, local health care, and yes, vibes. Oh, and wait until we get to the town where retirees live better on $2,500 a month than most people do on $6,000 in Miami. And trust me, you're not ready for what's next. Because let's be honest, choosing the wrong place to retire? That could cost you thousands or your sanity. No pressure. Let's break it down. Number 10. Mount Dora. Alright, kicking off our list is Mount Dora, aka Florida's most charming town that's not a Disney set. This place is like stepping into a Norman Rockwell painting, if Norman Rockwell liked antique shops, cobblestone sidewalks, and boutique wine bars. It's artsy, it's adorable, and yes, it's absolutely crawling with jazz festivals and old guys with fedoras who say back in my day, unironically. Retirees love it. Snowbirds flock to it. And the locals? Mostly just want you to stop driving 15 and a 25 while you, at the Victorian lampposts. Now the good stuff. Crime rate, 28% lower than the national average. Yep, the wildest thing that happens here is someone stealing your seat at the local art walk. Median home price? Around $395,000. Not cheap, but way less than Orlando next door. Cost of living? About 3% lower than the US average. Not bad for a town this cute. Rent? You're looking at around $1,600 per month for a nice 2-bedroom. Healthcare? Advent Health and Orlando Health are both nearby. Plus, Mount Dora's full of vitamin D and retirement-age yoga instructors. Mount Dora is like Stars Hollow if Taylor Deuce ran a boat festival and nobody under 40 was allowed to live there. And yeah, it's not exactly a nightlife hotspot. Unless your idea of clubbing is a jazz trio at the Lakeside Inn and being in bed by 9 o'clock. Here's the real trade-off. Mount Dora is peaceful, walkable, and straight-up gorgeous, but it's also not cheap, not exciting, and not for anyone who likes, doing things fast. This is a town for early dinners, scenic strolls, and vintage shopping, not adrenaline. And if you're used to big city buzz, you might lose your mind after the 4th antique store with whimsical in the name. Can we talk about the weather for a second? It's either the best day ever or you're stuck in a humidity sauna sponsored by mosquitoes. And don't get me started on those old-school Florida drivers. Turn signals? Optional. Speed limits? Suggestive. It's like a retirement-age Mario Kart out here. But close your eyes for a sec. You're sipping iced tea on a wraparound porch. A breeze drifts off Lake Dora. Somewhere a banjo plays. A guy walks by with a parrot on his shoulder, and no one finds it weird. This is retirement, baby. And if you think Mount Dora is wild, the next place somehow made weird a competitive sport. Number 9. Punta Gorda. Welcome to Punta Gorda. Punta Gorda. Sounds fancy, right? Like the kind of place where you'd sip a cocktail with a name, like Pelican Whisperer. Well, it kinda is. This Southwest Florida gem sits right on Charlotte Harbor and looks like it was designed by a retiree who wanted to combine a postcard with a Jimmy Buffett song. It's relaxed, tropical, and has more boats than people. Literally, the town has one of the highest per capita rates of boat ownership in Florida. Retirement here is less about bingo and more about sunset cruises, farmers markets, and dodging manatees in your kayak. Alright, let's pull back the curtain. Median home price? Around $355,000, Florida affordable, especially for waterfront living. Average rent? Roughly $1,700 per month for a 2-bedroom. Not cheap, but livable. Crime rate? 44% below the national average. Safe as heck. Healthcare? Excellent, with Bayfront Health and ShorePoint Medical Center right in town. Cost of living? About 4% below the national average, which is wild for a town with a marina in every direction. Living in Punta Gorda is like being in a Jimmy Buffett song, if Jimmy Buffett also loved HOA rules and early curfews. Yeah, it's chill, but it's a very controlled kind of chill. And if you don't like rules, good luck parking your flamingo pink RV in the driveway. Here's the trade-off. Punta Gorda gives you that island-like retirement lifestyle without having to pay Sarasota prices. But it's not for everyone. If you're the type who thrives on excitement or a bustling downtown scene, this place might bore you into building model ships by week 2. But if slightly breezy with a 20% chance of cocktails is your ideal weather report, you'll be just fine. Okay, let's talk hurricanes. Every time someone sneezes over the Gulf, Punta Gorda goes into prep mode. Sandbags, generator panic, lines at Publix that would make Disney jealous. And yet somehow, no one moves their lawn furniture until it's actually flying through the air. Now picture this. You wake up to the sound of seagulls and light waves lapping at the shore. Step outside, and there's a canal in your backyard, a coffee in your hand, and a neighbor yelling G morning from his kayak. Chill, easy, kinda perfect. And if you think Punta Gorda is the height of laid back, the next town basically turned back time, and people love it. Number 8. Sebring. Sebring. The city on the circle. That's not just a nickname. Downtown literally is a circle. And honestly, that kind of sums up the whole vibe. Simple, chill, and not trying too hard. This is where you go when you want peace, lakeside sunsets, and neighbors who wave from their front porches like it's still 1952. There's no coastline, no trendy food scene, and no one cares. Because Sebring isn't trying to impress you. It's trying to retire you. Let's talk numbers, and this time, they're shockingly friendly. Median home price. Just $260,000. Rent for a 2-bedroom, around $1,300 per month. Crime rate, slightly above the national average, mostly petty stuff, not purge level. Cost of living, a solid 8% below the U.S. average. Healthcare, you got Advent Health Sebring and other small clinics around, not cutting edge, but solid for everyday needs. Oh, and Sebring hosts the 12 Hours of Sebring endurance race, because nothing says quiet retirement town like Ferraris screaming through the swamp once a year. Retire to Sebring and enjoy lakes, quiet neighborhoods, and the sudden sound of high-performance engines shattering the peace every March. Bliss. Financially, Sebring is a win. You can stretch your retirement dollars a lot further here than in coastal hotspots. But emotionally, that depends on how much excitement you actually want. This is the kind of place where going out means hitting Walmart and the Dollar Tree on the same trip. There's a charm to the simplicity, but if you need constant stimulation, Sebring might feel like background music on loop. Let's talk Florida wildlife for a second. Sebring is surrounded by lakes, so yes, the alligators are real, and no, Steve, you shouldn't try to pet them. Also, there are mosquitoes the size of paper planes and more frogs than cars some nights. It's like nature got bored and started freelancing. Now picture this. You step outside in the morning. Mist rolls over Lake Jackson. A fishing boat hums in the distance. You've got a fresh cup of coffee in hand and not a single urgent thing to do. Just birds, breeze, and a front porch swing that actually gets used. And if you think Sebring is slow, wait until we get to the place where people retire just for the oysters. Remember that kayak neighbor from Punta Gorda? In Sebring, he's traded in the paddle for a lawn chair and hasn't moved since Tuesday. And fun fact, Sebring is one of the only towns in Florida where the golf carts actually lose to the race cars. Yeah, let that visual marinate for a sec. Number 7. Apalachicola. Apalachicola. Try saying that 5 times fast without sounding like you've had 3 margaritas. This tiny coastal town on Florida's forgotten coast is so low-key, even Floridians forget it exists. But that's kind of the point. No high-rises, no traffic, no chain restaurants, just oyster boats, shrimp shacks, and art galleries run by people who definitely used to live in Portland. It's got that Southern Gothic vibe, like a Faulkner novel, but with craft beer and better seafood. Now, let's break down the reality. Median home price? About $325,000. Not dirt cheap, but reasonable for waterfront views and zero HOA drama. Rent for a 2-bedroom? Around $1,400 per month. Crime rate? 35% below the national average. It's safer than your average Target parking lot. Cost of living? Roughly 5% under the U.S. average. Job market? Tourism, fishing, art. So, yeah, unless you're opening a gallery or selling local honey, consider yourself retired. Apalachicola is where you go to disappear on purpose. Bring a porch chair and a hobby that doesn't require Wi-Fi. Retiring here means trading your city suit for flip-flops and arguing over which oyster shack has the best hush puppies. It's a hard life. Here's the emotional trade. You get peace, coastal charm, and a tight-knit community that feels like a big family, sometimes too much like a family. Gossip travels faster than Wi-Fi out here. Financially, you're winning. But socially, you better be okay with knowing everyone's business and them knowing yours. Okay, let's talk humidity. Apalachicola in August. It's like breathing through a wet towel. And don't even think about wearing jeans unless you want to slow cook yourself like a crock-pot brisket. Oh, and pro tip, gators have zero respect for personal space. They'll sunbathe in your yard like they own the place. Now picture this. You step onto your porch. The salty breeze rolls in off the bay. A shrimp boat floats past, seagulls circling. Your coffee's hot, the neighborhood cat has adopted you, and the loudest thing you hear all day is a pelican dive-bombing breakfast. Life here moves slow, and that's the whole point. Fun fact, Apalachicola's crime rate is 35% lower than the national average. Detroit, 134% higher. So yeah, not all waterfront towns are created equal. And if you think Apalachicola is peaceful, the next town has an actual Scottish festival and bagpipes at brunch. Number 6. Dunedin. Ah yes, Dunedin, the beach town with a Scottish name, Gulf Coast sunsets, and enough charm to make your HOA cry tears of jealousy. This place is the hip grandparent of Florida towns. Not trying too hard, but somehow still cooler than your nephew's crypto startup. It's got waterfront parks, a walkable downtown, microbreweries on every corner, and a population that casually breaks into bagpipe parades like it's totally normal. Spoiler, it is. Dunedin's vibe is relaxed, artsy, and just weird enough to feel like you discovered something. Okay, numbers time. Median home price? Around $410,000. Not cheap, but you're paying for walkability, location, and personality. Rent for a 2-bedroom? About $2,000 per month. Blame the beach proximity. Crime rate? 36% below the national average. Cost of living? Slightly above national average, but not ridiculous. Healthcare? Minutes from Me's Dunedin Hospital. That's right, even a hospital sounds like it should come with scones. Retire in Dunedin, and you're one ukulele lesson away from full coastal enlightenment. Just don't ask for a quiet Saturday. There's probably a parade happening. Again. Living here means you're investing in lifestyle. You'll pay a little more, but what you get in return? Clean streets, great local food, art walks, biking trails, and sunsets that practically bully your Instagram into posting. The trade-off: you'll be surrounded by tourists 9 months of the year and craft beer everywhere. So yeah, maybe skip dry January. Let me just say this, Dunedin drivers act like turn signals are a philosophical concept. Nobody knows where anyone's going and no one cares. You'll be cruising along the Pinellas Trail 1 minute, and the next thing you know, some guy in a kilt and flip-flops is blocking traffic on a Segway with a dachshund in his backpack. It's chaos. Polite chaos, but still. Now picture this. You're sipping cold brew on a shady patio. A sea breeze carries the smell of salt and fresh pastries. There's a jazz duo playing near the marina. You spent the morning biking to the beach, and tonight you're hitting the tiki bar with live music and zero regrets. Not bad for a retirement, huh? And if you think Dunedin is eccentric, the next town once hosted a pirate wedding on purpose. Bagpipes are cool. But wait till you see what happens when historic charm meets open carry of oysters. All right, time for a little breather before we dive back into the countdown. You've earned it, loyal viewer. You know who you are, the one still picturing a kayak neighbor who hasn't moved since Tuesday. Now, here's a weird one. Dunedin, that charming Scottish-flavored beach town? It's the spring training home of the Toronto Blue Jays. Yep, Canada's baseball team preps in Florida, where it never snows. Make it make sense. And speaking of unexpected headlines, in Sebring, someone once stole an entire vending machine. Not just robbed, stole it. As in, dragged it into a pickup truck and drove off like it was a sofa on Craigslist. Florida, folks. And yes, we still haven't figured out how people in Apalachicola are somehow both off-grid and deeply committed to having 3 oyster festivals a year. That's dedication. Or cholesterol denial. Fun fact, the average Florida resident is statistically more likely to own a boat than vote in local elections. But hey, priorities. So what's next on the list? Let's just say, if you thought bagpipes were the peak of weird, this next place makes Mayberry meets Burning Man feel tame. Let's keep going. Number 5. Venice. Venice, Florida, not to be confused with Italy, though both have canals and questionable parking. This Gulf Coast gem is known for its Mediterranean-style architecture, uncrowded beaches, and a downtown so picture-perfect it feels like a movie set for Murder, She Wrote, Florida edition. It's classy without being pretentious, beachy without the spring break nonsense, and relaxed enough that even the squirrels look retired. Locals love their art festivals, farmers markets, and the fact that shark tooth hunting is a competitive sport here. Seriously, retirees with snorkels are out there daily, scooping fossils like it's Black Friday at the bone store. Now for the part where we get real. Median home price? Around $430,000. Fancy but not outrageous. Average rent? About $2,100 per month for a 2-bed, beachfront views not included. Crime rate? 48% lower than the national average. Basically, safer than a yoga studio in Sebring. Cost of living? About 5% higher than the national average, but you're paying for lifestyle, not just location. Healthcare? Venice Regional and Sarasota Memorial are right nearby. Bonus, half the town's already on a first-name basis with their cardiologist. Venice is where you go to retire gracefully or start wearing linen unironically. Live in Venice long enough and you'll start judging people for not owning a seashell display case. Financially, it's on the upper middle end, but not out of reach, especially for coastal Florida. The return: quality of life, walkability, and a peaceful, polished vibe. But here's the flip. Venice can feel a little too perfect. If you like grunge, chaos, or bars with sticky floors, this is not your scene. This is the land of sunset concerts, not mosh pits. Let's talk about the drivers. Everyone's either going 15 under the limit, or they're in a luxury SUV trying to run you off the roundabout like it's a NASCAR qualifier. Also, iced coffee? $6.75 at some places. For that price, I better be getting a free beach chair and a handwritten poem about my aura. Now imagine this. You're walking along the Venice jetty. Warm breeze. Pelicans flying in V formation. A guy on a unicycle is playing Jimmy Buffett on a harmonica. Nobody's fazed. You're holding a fresh gelato. No stress. No city noise. Just you, the sea, and the slow, beautiful hum of nothing. Venice's crime rate is almost half the national average. Miami? It's nearly double. So yeah, choose your sunshine wisely. Would you retire in a town where your biggest decision is beach walk or espresso first? Drop a yes or nah, too quiet in the comments. And if you think Venice is polished, the next town has pirate ghosts, beer gardens, and a surprising obsession with art cars. You're not ready. Number 4. Fernandina Beach. Fernandina Beach, the town with a name so long you forget what you were saying by the time you finish it. Located on Amelia Island, this place is Florida's classiest pirate hangout. Think historic downtown charm, pastel cottages, and locals who will tell you about the town's Civil War history, right after they tell you where to find the best fish tacos. It's got that rare combo of laid-back coastal and refined southern vibes. Also, a shocking number of parrots. Let's hit the numbers. Median home price? About $490,000, definitely climbing. Blame the beach and boutique hotels. Average rent? Around $2,000 per month for a 2-bed if you can find one. Crime rate? A beautiful 47% below the national average. Cost of living? Roughly 6% above the U.S. average. Job market? Mostly tourism, small business, and retirees convincing themselves they'll start a pottery studio. Living in Fernandina Beach is like retiring into a Hallmark movie if Hallmark movies had pirate festivals and wild chickens. Which honestly sounds better than 90% of actual retirement plans. So here's the trade-off. You're paying a bit more, but in exchange, you get a small-town coastal community that actually feels safe, social, and just the right amount of quirky. Your money goes further than places like Naples, and you don't have to fake smile through HOA meetings with people named Bradley. But competition for housing is heating up, because the secret's kinda out. Let's talk about the weather. Fernandina Beach in summer? Feels like you're walking through a hot tub, wearing a wool suit. Add in the daily afternoon thunderclaps and that one guy revving a lifted golf cart in a tank top, and suddenly retirement isn't looking so quiet. But picture this. You wake up to the sound of waves and wind through the palms. Grab a bike, cruise along Center Street. Stop for coffee at a local shop that also sells homemade jam and pirate flags. You spend the afternoon watching boats drift in. No rush, no chaos. Just you, the ocean breeze, and maybe a reggae band covering Fleetwood Mac. Feels good, right? And if you think Fernandina Beach is wild, the next town somehow made weird a tourism strategy. Brace yourself. Number 3. Inverness. Alright, number 3. Inverness, Florida. No, not the one in Scotland. No kilts here, unless it's laundry day, and you get creative. Inverness is where people go to retire quietly. No beach crowds, no overpriced brunch spots, and no HOA president named Susan measuring your grass with a ruler. Instead, you get rolling trails, sparkling lakes, and a town so peaceful, even the squirrels seem relaxed. This is old Florida, minus the chaos. Nature, space, and neighbors who wave without secretly judging your mailbox color. Here's the deal. Median home price? Just $255,000. Yeah, you heard right. Average rent? Around $1,300 per month for a 2-bedroom. Crime rate? 21% below the national average. Cost of living? A cozy 12% below the U.S. average. Job market? It's not booming, but hey, this is a retirement list, not a tech startup pitch. You don't move to Inverness for the job market. You move here to never work again. Inverness is where you go when you want peace, porch swings, and exactly 0 people trying to sell you essential oils. So here's the math. Low prices, low crime, and low stress. Sounds like a dream, right? But it comes at a cost, and that cost is vibes. Don't expect nightlife. Don't expect sushi. Expect fishing, floating, and chatting with the same Publix cashier every Thursday. If that sounds like heaven, you're gonna love it. If you need high-speed anything, keep scrolling. Okay, rant time. Inverness has this thing where every road looks the same. I swear, you miss one turn and suddenly you're in a cul-de-sac with 5 identical mailboxes and a stray cat named Tuna staring into your soul. Also, traffic circles. There are so many. I didn't know Florida had this many opinions about left turns. But now picture this. You're sitting by the lake. The sun's dipping low. The cicadas start singing their weird little summer song. A heron glides across the water. You've got nowhere to be and a glass of sweet tea that's 90% sugar. It's quiet. It's calm. And best of all, it's yours. And if you think Inverness is laid back, the next town somehow turned beach life into performance art. You're not ready for what's waiting at number 2. Let's just say oysters are involved. A lot of oysters. Number 2. New Smyrna Beach. Coming in hot at number 2, New Smyrna Beach, or as locals call it, NSB. This is Daytona's chiller, artsier, less blaringly spring break little sibling. It's got white sand, a thriving art scene, and enough beach bars to keep your margarita dreams alive without the college kids yelling at 3 a.m. It's basically the sweet spot between laid-back surf town and let's open a gallery for my retirement hobby. Let's hit the numbers like a Florida thunderstorm. Median home price? About $475,000. You're paying for proximity to ocean and culture. Rent for a 2-bed? Around $2,200 per month. Beachfront will obviously cost you more. Crime rate? Roughly 11% above the national average. Minor stuff, mostly car break-ins. Lock your Prius. Cost of living? Around 6% higher than the U.S. average. Healthcare? Solid. Advent Health NSB is local, plus you've got bigger hospitals in Daytona and Orlando. New Smyrna Beach is where you retire if you still want to surf, paint, and drink wine barefoot on your porch in the same afternoon. That's not retirement. That's peak Florida enlightenment. New Smyrna Beach isn't cheap, but you're not exactly overpaying either. You're buying lifestyle, art walks, outdoor concerts, weekend farmers markets that sell everything from organic kale to questionable wooden dolphins. But, and there's always a but, NSB has a little secret. It's the shark bite capital of the world. Yep, small nibbles mostly. But still, maybe don't wear glittery ankle bracelets in the surf. And hey, while we're here, what's the deal with drivers on A1A? Either they're going 20 under in a convertible while filming a sunset, or they're speeding like they just found out Publix ran out of sub-rolls. There's no in-between. Also, why is iced coffee $7 at the beach cafe when I can see them pouring it from a gallon jug? Now picture this. You're on your porch. Ocean breeze. Acrylic paint drying on the canvas next to you. A surfboard leans lazily against the railing. Somewhere down the block, live music drifts from a tiki bar. No alarm clocks. No spreadsheets. Just the occasional seagull judging you for eating chips at 10 a.m. And yes, still safer than Miami. Looking at you again, Miami. Don't come for me. You're statistically more likely to be nibbled by a shark in NSB than win the lottery. So maybe retire here, but don't buy scratch-offs and go surfing on the same day. And if you think New Smyrna Beach is wild, the next town has pirates, parrots, and enough local art to confuse your realtor. You've been warned. Number 1. Gulfport. Okay, this is it. Number 1. The crown jewel of Florida's wait, how have I never heard of this place? Towns, Gulfport. Tucked right next to St. Pete, but living in its own little artsy universe, Gulfport is quirky, creative, and proudly weird. It's part beach town, part open-air gallery, part front porch neighborhood, with a sprinkle of Florida man energy in the good way. Locals ride bikes to poetry readings, rescue stray cats named Captain Tuna, and casually drink espresso next to a drag queen dressed as Marie Antoinette on a Tuesday. So what makes Gulfport retirement worthy? Besides the fact that it's not Miami? Median home price? Around $410,000, pretty solid for coastal Pinellas County. Rent for a 2-bedroom? Around $1,900 per month. Crime rate? About 26% below the national average. Cost of living? Roughly 3% higher, but hey, you're paying for character. Healthcare? Excellent access. St. Anthony's and Baycare are just minutes away. Living in Gulfport is like being in an indie movie about retirement, with a lot more parrots and wine. So yeah, if Wes Anderson designed Florida town, it would look like Gulfport, but with flip-flops and better seafood. So real talk, Gulfport isn't for everyone. If you need HOA rules, beige stucco homes, and people who complain when a jazz is too loud, keep driving. But if you want LGBTQ plus friendly, walkable, art-soaked living with real community vibes, Gulfport delivers. It's the kind of place where people actually talk to their neighbors. Not just away from the driveway, but like bring you soup when you're sick talk. That's rare, and it's gold. Okay, but why does every cafe in Gulfport charge $6.25 for something called a mood latte? It's steamed almond milk with cinnamon and a vague sense of self-awareness. And don't even try to order a regular coffee. The barista will judge you with the full force of a spoken word artist. Now imagine this. You're walking home from a local jazz night barefoot because shoes are optional here. You pass a mural of a giant octopus hugging a palm tree. The ocean breeze rolls in. Someone waves from their front porch and invites you to brunch on a boat. You go, because why not? Remember back in Mount Dora when I said it was like a Hallmark movie? Yeah, Gulfport's the director's cut after 2 glasses of sangria. And while this was the last town on the list, the hunt for the perfect retirement spot. That's just getting started. So there you have it, 10 of Florida's most underrated towns, each quietly doing their own thing while the rest of the state argues over traffic in Tampa and iguanas in Miami. From funky beach enclaves to sleepy lakefront gems, one thing's clear. Retirement isn't one size fits all anymore. It's not just about golf carts and early bird specials. It's about finding your people, your pace, and a place that makes you actually excited to slow down. The real secret? These towns aren't just affordable or peaceful. They're intentional. They're communities where people chose quality over chaos. And that choice pays off every morning when your view is sunrise, not a traffic jam. So whether you're looking for art, oysters, or just a front porch where everyone knows your name, there's a Florida town with your name on it. And remember, Fernandina Beach's crime rate is nearly 50% below the national average, while Orlando's car theft rate is higher than the price of coffee in Dunedin. Yeah, let that sink in. All right, now it's your turn. Did your dream retirement town make the list, or did we totally skip over your hidden gem? Drop it in the comments, unless you're trying to keep it a secret, in which case, too late. And hey, if you want more smart, slightly sarcastic breakdowns on where to retire, relocate, or just escape your neighbor's leaf blower, hit that subscribe button.